everyone, Nyonstar here, and I was a total bookworm growing up. My dad would read to me when I was little, and that just sparked a love of reading that I have to this day. And this day, I'm going to talk about books that I read as a kid, both independently and in school. When I was young, I was obsessed with rabbits. So my favorite books were usually rabbit-focused. I loved Marshmallow and Peter Rabbit the most. I got this big Beatrix Potter collection when I was around 9 or 10, though it did get infested with roaches and got all gross. I also really loved the Velveteen Rabbit, which always made me cry. We also had 2 of the Bunnicula books growing up. Does anyone remember Bunnicula? I do. The first book I ever learned to read was Green Eggs and Ham. I had quite a couple of Dr. Seuss and adjacent books, and I'd like to say that The Cat in the Hat Comes Back is so underrated. Seriously, I never hear anyone talk about it. I still didn't have all of the Dr. Seuss books, especially since my dad hated Hop on Pop because he hated the rhyming scheme in that one.
It's so tragic the way they hopped on Pop.
My dad also didn't really like reading our collection of Disney's Small World library books, just because I'd make him read all the country fun facts in the back of the book. A book that both of us loved was The White Cat, a French fairy tale that had pretty illustrations. We also read The Little House, a book about a house that gets abandoned and gets sad when a highway's built over it. It has a happy ending, but it always made me cry. Industrialization gave me a lot of dread. The Bear That Wasn't also gave me a lot of dread, even though I don't think it was supposed to. It's about a bear that wakes up during the winter and gets gaslighted into thinking he's actually human. He realizes that just because everyone said that he was human doesn't mean they were right, but man, it just gave me a pit in my stomach. I also had a lot of gimmick books as a kid, like Cat Power and Dogs Rule, which were songbooks that came with CDs. I preferred Cat Power though. Alley Cat was my favorite, and I wish I could find all these songs online. Speaking of cats, I had the Playful Puppets book Lily the Kitten. I loved books that came in fun covers like this. I had this book called Who's Afraid of Ghosts that glowed in the dark. I still think that's so cool. Now getting away from cats, I also had the Dragonology book. I would literally study this book like it was a textbook and learned how to write in Dragon script. Now I'm just gonna list out a bunch of books we read in elementary school. In kindergarten, we read The Very Hungry Caterpillar, Harold and the Purple Crayon, which made me draw on the walls as a kid, The True Story of the Three Little Pigs, Tattle Tongue, and Goodnight Goon. Yeah, we didn't have Goodnight Moon, we had Goodnight Goon. And yes, I know how funny that title is now. Later in elementary school, we read Trumpet of the Swan, Island of the Blue Dolphins, Bridge to Terabithia, Alice in Wonderland, Bud Not Buddy, Sadako and the Thousand Paper Cranes, Out of My Mind, Hatchet, the first book of the Shadow Children series, The False Prince, and maybe Old Yeller. I can't remember if I read that one by myself. Now for books I read myself in elementary school. I read Anansi and the Moss-Covered Rock, which gave me a big appreciation for folk tales from other cultures. Chrysanthemum is the reason chrysanthemums are one of my favorite flowers. My dad got me to read The Mouse and the Motorcycle and Socks because he loved those books as a kid. I read a few of the Katie Kazoo Switcheroo books, and they gave me a lasting anxiety of randomly switching places with someone. The Ghost of Crutchfield Hall was one of my favorite books, and I ended up reading a bunch of the author's other books. I liked Where the Red Fern Grows, and I still can't remember if I also read Old Yeller by myself or if it was with the rest of the class. I read The Tiger Rising in the 5th grade, and it was life-changing. And lastly, I read The Cats of Tangled Forest as part of Battle of the Books, but I don't think I read anything else for that. In middle school, I was placed into gifted English, so we read a lot of books that the other kids didn't get to. I don't remember everything we read, but I do remember some of them. We read Invisible Man, Things Not Seen, Call of the Wild, The Cat and the Coffee Drinkers, Animal Farm, Kafka's Metamorphosis, The Fall of the House of Usher and the Black Cat, The Red Badge of Courage, and Bless Me Ultima, which was cool since it's about our New Mexican culture. By myself, I read a lot of series. I finally got to read through the Warrior Cats books, which I made a whole video about. My friend B got me to read through the Percy Jackson and Heroes of Olympus series, which I adored. They also got me to read another popular YA series that I was obsessed with, but given that the author is literally the worst, I won't talk about it here. I also read some books for reading logs, like Frankenstein, which we later read in class anyway, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Picture of Dorian Gray, and Pet Cemetery, which is my current favorite book. Go watch the video I made for it. I worked so hard on that. For high school, we read The Book Thief, Romeo and Juliet, and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I'm sure we read more than that, but I can't remember. I also read Triple for a book report. And that's all for now. Man, this script got away from me. I didn't even go in depth for each book and it still got kinda long. Regardless, thanks for watching. What were your favorite books as a kid? See you next time. Bye.